don't take rejection personally. If you're new to sales, that's probably like the number one rule. So essentially there's always like, you're either a salesperson or you're not a salesperson. And traditionally what I mean by that is that you're either okay with telling somebody no and not taking it personally, or you're not a salesperson and you're not okay with taking that no and not taking it personally. Either way, it's totally okay. I mean, there's a position that's that's perfect for everybody out there. But if you want to make the big bucks, or if you want to do really well, basically nothing ever moves forward until it's sold. So a lot of times, because of that reason, the sale, it has a lot of times, is the one that's doing the selling is the one that's going to get paid the most, because you can't actually push your widget, if you will, or people can't use your widget or use your fill in the blank until it's actually sold. So is the person that's selling doing the most work? Most of the times, no. But a lot of times, they're the ones that are totally okay with being told no, and then being totally okay with that. And either looking for the objection or thinking, what's best for the client. The best, if you're a seasoned salesperson and you're watching this video, there's a really good chance that you've read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And one of the best things in that book, and one of the things I try as best as I can to live my life by, not my life, but my sales career by, is by thinking what's best for the client that you're talking to. So what Dale Carnegie, it's written in the 30s and it's still completely relevant today. The Carnegie classes are still being taught, but they talk about how there's so many salespeople out there that are just pounding their head over and over and over, going, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? I'm putting in the activity, and a lot of times the activity is being misconstrued as the productivity. But really what they're doing is they're going around constantly thinking, me, 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 and they're never thinking about the client. They're never thinking about what's in best interest for the client, then therefore what that will kind of like turn into, if I can help them with their pain points or their problems, then I can help them with, they'll help me with my commissions. Essentially, it's kind of like a big circle. It's a win-win-win situation. So the video really today is about don't take the rejection personally. So if somebody just walks in there, first of all, whatever, just as human beings in general, and I've talked about this a little bit in my videos, but we're really connected as human beings. And a lot of times it has to do with the emotions. Because of the emotions, that gives off kind of an aura or a vibe that we put off to the people that we're going into. So if we're constantly, if you're in case presentation, or if you're presenting to a client, or you're going B2B or D2D, whatever the case might be, there's a really good chance that if you're like, oh man, if you've been sitting in your car for 15, 20 minutes, like psyching yourself up to go into that first prospect or that first door or hit whatever, you fill in the blank, they're going to feel that. So you really have to go in there very confident. You have to go in there knowing exactly what you're going to do. And you have to go in there knowing that you're there to help that person. If that person says no to you, that's okay. It's actually them getting hurt rather than you. So a lot of times we'll let, not me personally, but a new or junior or green sales executive will walk into a meeting or knocking on a door or walking into like whatever whatever it is that you're selling, whatever the door-to-door, business-to-business, or even if you're knocking on the homes, if you go in there with that objection kind of already pre-done in your head. I did this a couple videos ago where it's like, how often are you assuming the objection before it's even said to you? If the person goes in there, hey, get out of here, man, get out of here, we don't want your services, that's them more than it is you. So what you really have to do is be able to be really confident in that you're knowing that you're there to help them, and you'll say, hey, no worries, here's my information. If you ever need us, give us a call. one of the best pieces of advice I got, and I talk about a lot of the best pieces of advice that I get in these videos, but I was working for a company, and we would work with providers, and the provider, if the gatekeeper was like, we don't deal with you, we don't want your product, we don't. Next was always the best piece of advice. If I would turn to my manager and I'd say, well, what do we think about this? And then he or she would say, next. And it just basically meant that there's so many fishes in the sea that you really don't have to sit around and wait for this one person, or, am I, selling the unsellable, or whatever the case might be. Don't take rejection personally. Because if you take rejection personally, then they're going to kick you out of your own pipeline. And before you even know it, all of the goods, the riches, the whatever the case might be, you're going to lose out on them simply just because you're taking those rejections personally. There's a really good chance if you go out and you talk to 10 people that 9 are going to say no to you. And as long as you've done your job and answered, well, do you mind if I ask what it is that's holding you back so I can put this in my notes? Or are you sure? Or a thing what I call politely pushy, where you ask 3 different things 3 different times. And then from there, you can kind of know that you've done your job. If you've gone through your 10, and let's say you're 9 out of 10, and nobody says, everybody says, hey, get out of here, or no, and you've been politely pushy, or you've tried to answer the objections, and hey, no problem, you're really kind of thinking about how can I help these people, go to number 10. Because that's where the magic happens. That's where the sale is at. And even if you get 10 and you still get a no, go to number 11. You're going to eventually get that yes, and you're going to eventually find somebody to be able to really appreciate what you are and appreciate the value that you bring to the table. So don't take the objection personally. It has nothing to do with that. If you take the objection personally, there's a really good chance that 3 hours later, when you're still thinking about how Gertrude at the front desk was a completely rude, mean person to you, she doesn't even remember who you are. There's no way that it could be personal. It's more Gertrude's problem than it is your problem. Don't take the objection personally.